Hi, this is Jim Lally, Chairman and CEO of Enterprise Bank and Trust. Enterprise University is our one-of-a-kind, no-cost business skill development program for business owners and their teams. Learn more at enterprisebank.com/EU.
Hello, my name is Bonni Pomush. It is my honor to serve our community here at Working Wardrobes as CEO. It's incredible to be here with you, Ed, and to talk more about leadership and the impact we're creating together.
Well, I'm excited, Bonni. This has been a long time coming. Bonni, I was telling her before we started recording that I put out on LinkedIn whenever I'm getting ready to interview a guest, and I hear from people all the time. And this is one of those, it happens a lot, but this is one of those rare times where people are actually texting me saying, "You're so lucky you get to talk to Bonni today." And I do feel that way. We cross paths in the community. Recently, I saw Bonni receive an award. Cal State Fullerton does their leadership awards every year. And Bonni, as CEO of Working Wardrobes, received not only an excellence in leadership, but in culture, which is, I think, a great topic. And we'll probably spend a lot of time on that today. Company culture is so important. I think every leader thinks about it. Every employee thinks about it. People don't quit companies, they quit cultures, in my opinion. You know, I've quit cultures in the past, and I've embraced cultures where I've stayed as well. A little bit about Bonni. We'll touch a lot on her background as we go through the conversation. First of all, I want to welcome everyone to the From the Heart podcast. We are presented by Enterprise Bank and Trust, Core Brokers Insurance, Witham Tax and Witham Wealth Management, and Brown and Streza. We're very blessed that we have some great sponsors who support what we do. You'll hear a couple commercials throughout the episode today from each of them. So my notes show, Bonni, that you became CEO in 2021 of Working Wardrobes. Now, I met and knew a little bit your predecessor, Jerry Rosen. A lot of our audience are family business owners. So succession is certainly a topic that comes up everywhere. You and I have a lot of mutual friends in the family business space. How do you replace a legend?
Oh my goodness, that is so well asked, Ed. Jerry Rosen, the founder of Working Wardrobes, is absolutely a legend.
31 years, founded the organization. Yeah, exactly.
That's right. I often think about, Jerry's experience, in the first 30 years, she had already helped reach over 100,000 people. And as she was beginning to entertain the thought of retirement, she got the most devastating news that Working Wardrobes was up in fire, up in smoke.
Right.
It was Super Bowl Sunday. It's 6 weeks prior to the pandemic shutdown. And this, I think about it like a child, like she has raised this child into its 30s. And now what do? I don't think she had a moment really to have that, opt out thinking, because the community rallied so strongly and so vehemently to rebuild Working Wardrobes with her. Knowing that at that time she was already thinking about retirement and had to really set that aside to essentially go startup mode and grow, rebuild.
Start from scratch, right?
Literally start
I remember
from scratch.
everybody was bringing in clothing and food and everything, just whatever they could bring to the organization. And like you said, 6 weeks prior to the shutdown, we didn't know was coming.
Literally had no idea, right? Jerry had told me that there were just cars like for weeks lined up around the block to restock and re-inventory us. To go back into that startup mode, and again, you're starting up, but also beginning to figure out, how do I also phase myself out? That's a big endeavor. And I think for the board of directors, that was also a big, what do we do? How do we prepare for this? And so the organization got really, thorough in strategic planning, in thinking about what does success look like? How do we maintain our traction organizationally? And Jerry really focused on, how do I transition, this experience of leading the team to another person, when for 31 years, right, this is all her intellectual property, all of her relationships. Truly, Ed, I think all of her being. Jerry was synonymous with Working Wardrobes. She was Working Wardrobes.
Yeah, you couldn't say one without the other. I couldn't say Working Wardrobes without her name, or her name without Working Wardrobes for a long, long time.
Exactly. And so I think the organization was really preparing from those two perspectives about, how do we maintain continued service to the community while knowing that there's going to take some time for us to, there will be only one time in the organization's history that it will transition from founder to forevermore. There will be, a succession of CEOs.
You got one shot to get it right. Yeah.
Right.
No pressure at all, by the way, Bonnie. Yeah.
Yeah, because I kind of laugh, like thinking to myself, why wasn't I more scared?
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask, we're going to get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. But for Jerry, I think that it was obviously, like the sort of the pinnacle of her career, right, is to sort of deconstruct what she's been doing and to hand it to say, here's how I've been doing it, take it. And because she was so caring about my onboarding and we were organizationally prepared for that, I think that together we hit the success mark. I'll share a quick quip, which you may have even experienced, Ed. One of the we happened upon was that Jerry and I lived close enough to each other that we commuted to work a few days together. And of course, in those 40 minutes in the car, we're talking all about working wardrobes and
Yeah.
sharing information, but we're also having sort of philosophical leadership conversations about what we've learned and what we know to be true about the space. And there were moments where we were like, "That was good," and so
Hmm.
why don't we record that? And then
Yeah. There you go.
birthed what we called carpool conversations, which was bringing you into the car with us, hearing sort of our conversation. But I think what really was the result of that was literally what I just said, giving people a little peek behind the curtain of the transition and seeing the joy that we were experiencing, but also the not just the camaraderie, but the alignment of approach, and that we were not the same person, not gonna walk in. I'm not gonna walk a day in Jerry's shoes,
Right.
but that we are able to be, I don't know what the right word is, but to make that a seamless transition. And I was grateful people could see a little bit of that.
So a lot of questions have come up already. I'm not even at the bottom of page one of the notes yet. You said a word that is a word that I hear a lot. Most of the work that I've done over the last 30 years has been in the family business space. And succession is obviously a big part I hold in my hand for those watching a baton. And we're going to come back to this in a minute. But you talk about alignment.
Mhm.
Talk about your personal desire to protect her legacy and at the same time put your own stamp on working
Oh,
wardrobes. Because that's one of the challenges that the next gen always faces. I don't want to do things dramatically different than mom and dad, in this case, founder. But at the
mhm.
same time, if I don't put my own stamp on it, then I'm of no value. I'm just doing everything the way the old leader by the past leader used to do. Talk about that
Sure.
alignment between legacy
Mhm.
and your own direction.
Mhm. I think you just got to the heart of the matter, which is this, that my belief, and I'm talking like zoom out, big, big beliefs. My big belief is that we are each here for a reason, for a purpose, and
Totally.
that this vessel was crafted for a mission. My mission is to figure out that mission and deliver it. And I'm making that assumption that I am equipped with things that will prepare me for my mission. Secondly, my sort of zoom out, big, big picture belief is that I sit under trees I did not plant. I walk in freedom and liberties that I did not create, defend, or do anything to have. I stand on the shoulders of the people that came before me. And so it is incumbent on me to not only honor, respect, and do well by what people have done before us, to stand on those shoulders, but to also know I am the shoulders that someone else
Yeah.
generationally is going to be standing on. And so I think of myself always as a bridge. And that alignment, I think, was really clear for Jerry, an important mark, that I'm not here to change it up and turn it upside down. I'm here to build upon it. She created an incredibly strong foundation for us to build upon. And I think part of what you said about, how do you, I heard a lot of like ego, right? That like, how do I leave my mark? How am I like,
Yeah. I
of
mean,
value and
ego or
worth?
not, I think we all want to leave a stamp on what we're doing, of course, and a legacy.
We matter,
100%.
right? And
Yeah.
for me, that mattering is all about connectivity, relationship, and discovery, right? It's like, I don't know everything about you. I'm not going to assume everything about you, but isn't it cool to discover and learn? And
Yeah.
oh, that's neat. That's different than me. I want to bring that into me. I'm not, no, thank you, right? Like all of it. So I think that with the succession, the legacy in these pieces, for me, it was really about the invitation to go ahead and be myself, wear my own shoes. Don't try to be Jerry and walk in her
Yeah.
shoes.
That job's already
But
taken. You can't be her. Yeah.
Like, no, no one ever could. I would be a very wealthy woman if I had $1 for every person who said, "Wow, those are big shoes to walk in."
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Shoes get bigger and bigger.
Oh, totally. And Jerry, during every time that we were together, that we heard that together, she would say they're only size 6,
Nice, but
which is
growing.
hilarious. But yeah, I think that that's all like rooted in this idea that we all matter. Every person matters. That and consequentially, like the sum result of us is mattering to the point that we're building upon what each other. It's like evolution, right? That there's
Yeah.
just a way of continuing the progression.
Yeah, I was talking the other day about a company, a family business that I've worked with that started making railroad ties and now they make semiconductors. And to think in the 150-year history, how did they get from here to here?
Yeah.
If you look at step 1 to step 2, that's a logical step. Step 2 to step 3, that's a logical step. Even 1 to 50 and 50 to 100 and then 150, each step makes sense. When you look at the bigger picture, it might not. You hit on the head exactly. You are somewhere on episode 157. Not all have been guests, most have been. But the reason I do this podcast is selfishly because I get to know you, my guest, but even more selfishly is I get to bring you to other people as well. Nothing makes me happier than when I hear somebody or I run into somebody in the community. Oh, I heard that interview you did with Bonni Pomush. Wow, she's amazing. And I feel a little sense of pride knowing that that person might not know who you are if it wasn't for this podcast. Yeah, they will, and they probably do already. But yeah, that opportunity, to your point, to meet someone and get to know them and really what makes them tick. And that I think that's a really, really big part of leadership as well, is as you get to know your people. We could go in a lot of different places, but before I go into leadership and culture, I brought up the baton, so I have to ask,
Yeah.
talk about the process of when Jerry started, and you may not be able to speak to her because it's third person, but you know a bit about her more than I do, obviously. That process of when it started clicking for her that it was you, and the process of it clicking for you that you were the next leader. How was that? I know in some companies there wasn't at all. There was a gap. Other companies, especially father, son, mother, daughter, family business, it's obvious from the time the kid is 3. What was that process like when Jerry realized or came to you, or you went to her and said, "Hey, what about me?"
Ed, it's an interesting, like, reflective for me to go back in time and think back to, because as I think happens often, you're in a spot and you like, there was it's before this, like, what was before this?
Yeah, what was that before? I don't remember.
Totally. Again, I think so healthy for the organization that the board absolutely included Jerry in the recruiting and hiring process. Her voice, I am sure, mattered greatly during that process. But I think Jerry also knew at that time that it was important for the board to be the deciding, right? This was going to be the one employee that the board of directors, you know, orchestrates everything through. And so she was a huge part of the process, but definitely had different parts to the process. I think that there were many candidates that they looked at, and I think that I was the candidate that resembled most what is unique and different about Jerry, which is how she related and connected with people. There is a part of this role that is, I kind of used this before, it's a bit of a bridge, right? You're like bridging between things all the time. And it's that connectivity that you can't really create unless you're able to fully connect and fully be, aware of your individual whatever and have the larger puzzle. How does everything
Yeah.
kind of work together and how do these things connect? So that piece, I really don't know though. I wasn't really on the other side of the table, Ed. I was the
Yeah.
nervous in the hot seat.
When did you
Thinking,
know, from the time you knew you really wanted it to the time you got it, what was that process like?
well, Ed, when I read the job description, I'm not kidding.
It was written for you.
I felt like it was a love letter to me.
That's a great way to put it.
Come to me. You're so that.
That's awesome.
I mean, I'm embarrassed to tell you, I had never heard of Working Wardrobes. I'm originally from Arizona, and I had moved here in 2009. This is a good time. I feel like I should have known about Working Wardrobes, but I didn't. And so discovering Working Wardrobes, which again is somewhat a reflection of who Jerry is and was a beacon to me of my beliefs in an organization that was doing something about it. My true north in life is really best expressed by Maya Angelou, and that is, I People are not going to remember what you said or did, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Right.
And for me, that is the true measure of my days and how I show up. I'm an achiever. I can't turn that part off. The results orientation is going to go whether I try or not. It's there.
Yeah.
But what really matters for me at the end of the day is, how did we connect? How did I treat you? How did I show up as a human today? I know my gravestone is not going to say masterful projects, initiative, whatever, warrior, craft a strategic plan, created and done. Answered all the emails.
And when people talk about you, to my point earlier in this conversation, pre-recording and at the beginning of this conversation, when people hear that I get to have you on the podcast, they're not talking about, oh, Bonni, she's a great strategist. She's such a great visionary for working wardrobes. No, it's because of how we feel when we're around you. My wife and I ran into you down at Beachcombers, like we talked about many times. It's just that, you stopped and turned and I just felt like, wow, nothing in the world matters more to Bonni right now than me. And
Yeah.
you have that impact on people. When you were honored at Cal State Fullerton a few weeks back with that leadership award on culture, they got that right. You are definitely, I mean, if what you do in your organization is what you do in the community, and I'm a very emotional guy, and I'm gonna get emotional here. And I prayed before this literally that I wouldn't, sob on the air because I do a lot. But I see the impact that you have. I saw that you shared that Maya Angelou quote, and it's a quote that I love too. In fact, I have a list of quotes on my wall, and that is one of them over here off camera, and has been for years. It really is how you make people feel at the end of the day. That's all that really matters. I don't think anybody's going to look back on their deathbed and say, boy, I sure am glad I wrote that 5-year strategy back in 2026. What a, I just want to frame and laminate that and stick it on everybody's car windshield. It's not that at all. It's how did people feel when they're around you?
Yeah, totally.
That's where
the magic is.
So talk about that. How did that start with you? Earliest memory of the importance of how people feel.
Wow. My earliest memory of that is a pretty negative one.
Well, sometimes it takes the opposite. Yeah.
Exactly. I remember being, in elementary school and just really not feeling like anybody liked me or that I belonged or that I could be myself. And I mean, I was a really introverted, shy kid, so I didn't have that work. I know I have a good.
You saw me smile, right? Yeah.
Totally. I have a dear friend, Merritt, who when I said to her that I'm an introvert, she literally immediately said, "Well, you're not a very good one."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You need to go to Introverts Anonymous, right?
That sort of core, like literally sitting alone at the lunch table, literally sitting alone at the lunch table. I was also mad at my mom that day because she made me to school with a rice cake. Like, come on. But I know.
Nobody wanted to trade lunches that day with you, right?
They're like, we're not sitting with you. We're not having what you're having. Yeah. I just remember that feeling, and it was a terrible feeling. And I didn't want that to be on my watch. You know what I mean? Like, if it's up to me, things are not going to be like that. Like, kids don't sit alone. And so that kind of became who I became. Was, well, I'm not going to have that happening. What's happening to me happen to someone else. And so I think then the sort of next major memory, if you will, that I have, it's like a core. It was the first time that I understood it from a different lens. Like I could call it what it was and understand what to do about it. I was in a class that was part of my summer before the school year started in university. It was a class that went the whole year, but they prepared you during the summer to teach supplementary school during the year. And then the course, so you would like learn behavior management and these things in the summer and like how to, craft a lesson plan and all that. And then the rest of the year, the instruction continued as you were teaching in supplementary schools. Well, one of the sessions was about, I think about the Mandalorian when I think about it. It was called like, This is the Way. And the way in the Mandalorian, right, is literally how we treat people. How do we treat people in a manner that their dignity is preserved, that their, individualization is honored, like who you are differently is honored, celebrated, and that you can feel safe and free enough to be your whole self. I want to make that happen in a classroom like bad, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the exact thing that I'm looking to not create, or that I'm looking to create, which is what I did not experience. And so having that class kind of taught me to really without judgment, to appreciate every living person, thing, creature for what it is, and to, like I was describing before, to not be trying to categorize it, but to just seek to understand it, to
Yeah.
honor it. And that just really, that shifted me big time.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you share that, because oftentimes that topic will come up when I have a conversation with someone, whether it's a podcast or just in the community or wherever. Sometimes we learn, like for me, the example of how to treat people. People, I say, "Oh, you treat everybody so well with respect." It's like, well, that's how I was taught by parents. So my lessons came from watching my parents, observing how they treated other people. Were they perfect? Of course not. Nobody is. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of stories of my mom and how she treated people going, okay, that might be the experience of where I try to like
Yeah.
maybe shift it a little bit in many ways. In other ways, no. In other ways, it was fantastic. With my dad, it was just, we always joke that my dad could be talking, you could be hearing my dad on the phone talking to the president of his company, $3 billion company that my dad was the number 2 or 3 guy, or he could be talking to the guy who's mowing our lawn, and you wouldn't know who he's talking to based on his
Yeah.
tone or his words. He just treats everybody equally.
That's right. I want to be like your dad.
I'm trying to be that way as well.
Yeah.
So, I was around him for 57 years or so before he passed. I've got 8 or 9 bullet points here of different awards, and I'm not going to share these to embarrass you, but I am going to share these with a question. Okay.
Okay.
So if I talk about the Culture Award at Cal State Fullerton that you just got, and we're going to read these off. If you tuned into the beginning of this podcast, you will have heard all these awards when I did the intro to Bonni before. LA Times 2023 and 24 Visionary CEO Award. I might have some of the years off on this. Orange County Inspirational Women Honoree. Orange County Business Journal Women in Business Honoree. Orange Coast Magazine Kick-Ass Woman. I like that. Might want to come back to that one. Most Influential Person of the Year. Woman of the Year by Orange County Women to Women. Servant Leadership Award by Fulcrum Nonprofit Leadership. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Plus, you've got one coming. By the time this airs, you will have received an award that I was able to receive 4 years ago from Leadership Tomorrow, the Influential Leadership Award, which is a great honor for me. My question in going through your resume of awards, how do I ask this question? When you think back on those, I know those that voted for you in those feel like they got all of them right. But when you think about one, is there one that you think, and not to compare one is more important than another, but is there one where it really hit you and made you emotional? Like, wow, that's pretty amazing. That not I'm amazing, but it's amazing that the efforts I'm striving to put the stamp I'm trying to put on working wardrobes in this community. That's what this award's about.
And I'm also feeling emotional about it. It's most certainly the Cal State Fullerton Center
Yeah, I
for
thought that might be
Leadership's
your answer.
Executive Leadership and Culture Change Award, because it's all about who I am and how what we just talked about, right? This matters so much to me. And while there are metrics that you can look at, like our Glassdoor score went from 2.3 to 4, right? Like there are ways you can measure this. What I know for sure is that working wardrobes feels like our mission. We
Mhm.
treat each other like we treat our clients, with the utmost dignity, with the utmost regard. And when I look at our team, and it's always in the micro moments. I talk about it like it's the water we're swimming in. Like you just don't even know, you don't even see it there. You're just paddling
How you
along.
describe wet, right? It's wet is
Exactly.
everything. Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. So it's those micro choices. It's the micro moments. It's the, like, do I choose to lean in and ask you how you are? Or do I put my nose back down and get back to work? Right. It's the micro moments. And so I just feel an incredible amount of pride in having any part in having influenced a group of people who care deeply about their fellow humans and want to do something about it every single day.
So behind you, Working Wardrobes, your future, our purpose, and then the tagline, we help people overcome barriers to gainful employment. Here's your chance to plug Working Wardrobes. What do you do? Most people think, well, if people need clothing for an
Yeah.
interview, that's what you do. And yes, you do that, of course. I know many people who've been recipients of that service. Talk about that and talk about all the other things that you do. And then if you want to integrate culture into your answer, so be it, because that's where we're going to kind of go next anyway.
Well, at Working Wardrobes, we do what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
We meet people right where they are. Sometimes that's in prison, on a military base, in a school, maybe a high school. It could be that someone's coming to us online in person. Wherever they are, we meet them there and discover who they are. And then we discover what is the goal. And that short-term goal is sometimes indicative of, a longer, it's like a stop on the road to a longer term goal. But do you even know what you want to do when you grow up yet, Ed?
I'm hoping I grow up. My wife certainly hopes I grow up. I think the jury's still out on that, but I think there's still some hope there.
Like, trying to help you figure out the rest of your entire life. We're trying to help you figure out what's the next goal. And so that might require some career assessment, some coaching conversation. It might even require some career exploration where maybe you're interested in a couple of different careers, but we'll help guide you to discover which one is the one to pursue. Is it worth, maybe this one needs a certification, but this one needs a post-secondary, like a graduate degree, maybe we go for this first, etc. So we first discover what the goal is, and then we figure out what's in between here and there. What are you missing? What's in the way? Part of it is really intellectual property. We focus a lot on soft skills. Soft skills are those skills about, it's kind of the water you're swimming in, right? It's the things that you do on autopilot that show up as deal breakers for a lot of employees. Examples of these are, how do I work with the 5 generations in the workforce? How do I adapt to a new workplace culture, integrate myself into it? How do I show responsibility, right? People judge us on our behavior, not our intention. These kinds of soft skills. We've even developed curriculum like for younger students. The school districts have hired us to do harassment prevention training for young adults, right? Know what's appropriate and not appropriate in the workplace. So imagine an entire, sort of cadre of workforce readiness topics that we can help people. Just depends on the person, what they need. After we've developed that piece, maybe there's something career or job specific. Maybe there's a certification. Maybe, for example, a lot of folks need customer service, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have like a certification or something to sort of endorse your ability, you look like everyone else, right? So you might stand out a little bit.
Right.
Exactly. And then we work on, of course, the job readiness. So that's partially how you present yourself. We do a signature class called The Power of Your Image, where we learn what is the image that, everybody's a brand, everything is a brand. What is your brand? What is the image that you're trying to portray? You're communicating on 3 different levels. So are you doing that with intent? Let's help you discover what it is you're wanting to say and how to say it effectively. And then that styling appointment, and it's taken me this long to talk about the styling appointment. It's like the, 5th most offered service that we have, right? All these other things I've talked about are what we do the most of. And I think about that as updating operating systems before we update the packaging. When we update the packaging, now we're doing that with an intention, right? The strategy is I have something to say. These clothes are going to help me say it. And so you go for your styling appointment and it's a one-on-one experience where someone's helping you really showcase your best self. You practice your elevator pitch in the mirror in a success suit and it sounds and looks a lot different.
Yeah.
Most of our clients see themselves, their future, what's possible, staring back at them as tangible for the first time. It's amazing. And then we work with people to retain their jobs, to get promotions, to get, salary increases. And that's sort of the arc of what most of our clients experience, but some people come to us for just a moment in time.
Yeah.
We partner with a lot of organizations who do incredible work. They'll hire us to just do a little sliver, just that power of your image and the styling, right? So we'll partner with agencies to help a few hundred people, maybe in a summer to achieve that component of their program. And maybe they're working with them for 2 or 3 years, something like that.
See, that's awesome. Most people didn't know that. My perception, I knew that because I've talked to you and everything, but I think before I really had Working Wardrobes on my radar, my thought was people trying to enter into the workforce for the first time and they need a new suit. Yeah, there's that.
Totally.
But it sounds like, someone like me, 62, trying to find a new job, trying to maybe find a new industry. There might be services there for me to kind of redo my image, or not just what I wear, but just my overall image. So,
well, Ed, you make a really great point because a lot of the clients that we work with have some sort of gap in employment, and it's for a lot of different reasons. And when you're coming back, to rebuild, there's a couple of gaps that you have to close. And sometimes, oh, that was a good pun, actually. But
I got put on gaps you have to close. Clothes. Yeah. There you go.
thank you. It's not a good joke if you have to spell it out, though.
Don't quit your day job, Bonnie. Pretty good joke, but yeah, keep this going. Love it.
I have no idea what
I know, me either. I knew we were going to laugh today, though. Some people coming back into the workforce, or maybe they're, you need to like equip them to go back. Yeah.
Thank you. So your goal right now might be a different one than it was before, and you might need to like realize that the hiring process is going to be a bit different, right? AI is now a factor you need to take into consideration.
Yeah.
How do I get to the human? I have to get through the robot first, right? So we teach our clients how to make sure that that answer key, the job description, is all over their resume so that they make it through the filters and they get to the interview. And then we prepare them, in the example of like starting your career over, you got to really know your why, right? Like, why are you switching complete industries and now none of this work experience is relevant? Like, you have to be able to tell that story really well.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few minutes ago that when you read the job description, it felt like a love letter to you. Can you expand on that? Were there aspects of now let me ask you this. Now that you've been in the job since 2021, how do you feel about that love letter now?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, are there specific components of it that you still think, wow, that is so me, or other things? And I'm sure you've built the job around you too. Every CEO does. But what are the things that you fell in love with 5 or 6 years ago when you looked at the job description that are the things about the job that just, wow, right now for you?
I think we've been talking about the core of it, the most important part of it, right? The DNA of working wardrobes is dignity. And that is everything that I am. I am all about how we treat each other, that every human matters, that every life has potential and purpose. That is who I am. And so this mission and that love letter to me is I get to do that every day in perfect alignment. I have never 1 second questioned that, am I doing work I'm proud of today? Am I doing the right thing, right? Like, I am 100% aligned. This organization, I may not have founded it, but it is an extension of my soul. It is part of how I express me in the world, and it was already here.
That's
so that,
you know how blessed you are, right?
Beyond measure, beyond. Yeah. And I also know that that's, you can't take that for granted. It's like our marriage, right? It's like relationship, that you have to take care of it and nurture it and make sure that that continues. And that's how I show up every day, right? It's like a little oil change every day, because I come and give it, but I get it. And it just goes and goes and goes.
Yeah, I liken that to kind of like sleep or eating or drinking water or breathing. We can't just like sleep one night and I'm good for the week, or have one meal and I'm good for the week, or take a bunch of breaths today and then not breathe tomorrow. It's repeating. You have to, the culture, that award you talked about that makes you emotional, that you got from Cal State Fullerton, because it's about leadership and because it's about culture. Culture is a living, breathing organism in an organization. And
exactly,
I've done a lot of organizational training over the years. And one of the ones that I do is about building bridges. And you talked about building bridges. And I talk about how, and I show a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge, and I show a picture of the Bay Bridge and the Sydney Harbor Bridge and other famous bridges around the world. And I ask my class, how long do you think it took to build this bridge? And they're never right, but they're always, 4 to 13 years is kind of the given answer for these bridges. And they're, Bay Bridge was 13 years, Golden Gate was 4, as an example, I think, if I remember correctly. How long would it take to destroy this bridge? And then I show them a quick video from movies, famous movies of bridges being blown up by TNT or a bomb or a missile or something, and it can blow up in a heartbeat. Because and then I love the analogy of the guy or the company that paints the Golden Gate Bridge. You've probably seen this. They paint one side of the bridge, they go all the way across. The minute they finish, they go back and they paint again, and they're always repainting the bridge because they have to protect it from the elements. It's like leading in any organization. You're constantly painting that bridge. You always have to be protecting the organization, protecting your people.
Yeah.
So how do leaders, in your opinion, mess up culture? Not from your experience, but I'm sure you've seen it.
Well, I think it's both. It's not walking the talk, right? As soon as you're not authentic, as soon as you're not aligned, like we sniff that a mile away, right? I don't know about you, Ed, but I think most of us can feel when it isn't real.
Yeah.
And when it ain't real, I'm out. And so that's true, I know, for our team. So it's when self is not aligned with what you're saying and what
Yeah.
you're doing. Yeah.
What would you do if you were asked to go into an organization and they said, Bonnie, our culture is messed up and we know the culture at Working Wardrobes is really good.
Hmm.
What would be that first? The Navy Admiral slides the white glove under the banister to check for dust to see if the ship is clean. What would be that white glove test that you would do on an organization to test them on their culture?
My first is to have a conversation with every employee.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that this is not a 20,000 employee organization, and that wouldn't be probably possible in the format that I'm doing it. But I would
Yeah.
scale that. I don't think that you can possibly make yourself a part of the team and lead the team if you have not laid eyes on, had conversation with, connected with the people who you're doing that work with.
What would be some of the things? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but what would be some of the questions you might ask as you're talking to them?
What do you love about working here? What drives you nuts? What are the things that, get you up at the nights? What are the things that worry you? What are the things that you absolutely like? What are the memories that you've created here that you love, that you are just endeared to? These
Mhm.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
They give me some sense of what matters, right, to this person,
Sure.
but it enlightens me about what are some of the communal experiences that are, when you're doing something like you probably don't remember every birthday party you ever had or
Right.
birthday
The
celebration,
big ones
but there's
stand out, but yeah.
that's right. And you want to know which are those ones that really stand out. Those are the ones we want to create. And it's not
Yeah.
because I want to celebrate your 62nd birthday every year. It's
Right.
because the elements of that celebration had impact with you. And that's what I'm really after.
Yeah. It's like we remember where we were when certain things happened. Where were you when the towers
Exactly.
were hit, or where were you when the president was shot, or where were you when you got the
Exactly.
best news of your life? I
Exactly.
might not be able to remember my age, but I could put it together. But I remember how it goes back to Maya
Right.
Angelou. We remember how we felt. I always remember when somebody says something that made me feel really good.
Hmm.
Can you talk about a mentor, past, present, recent, someone that stands out? Naming them or not is up to you. But what is
Yeah.
it about that person that you would label them as a mentor? And then part two of my question is, you get asked as a CEO, you get asked as a nonprofit leader, you get asked specifically in the role you're in now, and having worked at Samueli in the past as well, I'm sure you get asked to mentor others. So first of all, talk about a mentor in your life and then lead that
Hmm.
into what do you look for when you choose to mentor someone or not?
Great question. I'm thinking about two mentors right now, and I'll speak to both of them. The first was Candy Roush at the Kyrene School District. And it was the first time that I was leading a multi site team. So I had 26 campuses of staff I was leading. And I had a lot, I needed a lot of time to process what my approach was, why, what will work, what have you done. And this boss gave me as much time as I could possibly have needed. And that gift, she was always like, whenever she was with me, it was full presence. She would not look at her phone, look at anything else. It was 100% about me. And I can't remember, I wish I had like the log of how
Yeah.
much time she gave me. She didn't have anything to get out of that other than helping me hone my craft, helping me be an effective leader, helping, sort of help me run these ropes. I will never forget Candy for that. And it's really been a part of how I show up also, that I'm really disappointed with myself when I look at my phone or when I'm not 100% with
Yeah.
you. The other is my mom. My mom, you were describing your dad, and I was thinking about my mom because she is the most thoughtful, observant, generous person. I'm a terrible gift giver, and I look at her and I'm like, how did you know exactly what they needed when they needed it? And it might be, somebody needs they had surgery. Of course they're going to need these things. Well, yeah, now that you said it, of
Right.
course,
Yeah.
but I would
Hindsight's
never have thought
2020.
of
Yeah.
that. Exactly. My mom is also like very much, just cares deeply about how people are meant to feel, like how you host people, how you create space that makes people comfortable. She cares deeply about, how do we present ourselves in a way that helps us connect with people? She's just the whole package of an amazing human. She made sure that things that I wouldn't have known I would need as skills that I have. I'm thinking like she sent me to etiquette school because she's like, Bonnie, we are not of means, but you're going to go to a lunch one day and you're going to need to know what fork to use. This is the
Bread,
class you need.
water, or bread, drink, right? Which fingers go where. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. I think she wanted so much for me to have all of the tools that she either did or didn't have that she got,
Wow.
however way. But that shoulders we stand on, like I think about that with my mom, that she is all about both things, about showing up as an amazing human and also, building for the next, helping elevate the next.
So I love that. So how do you take those lessons and parlay them into mentoring others?
For me, I'm all about feedback. I think about like temperature settings, like a thermostat. You set the temperature and then what happens? You get a reading and you adjust, right? You get a reading and you adjust. That's kind of how I approach those relationships is what's the reading right now? How much do you need? What do you need? What are you looking for? Like let's set the thermostat for what you're needing. And then let's get some readings on how am I helping you with that? So for some people, it's like they just need to be introduced. Really, what they need is someone to vouch for them and give them a seat at the table, open the door, make the connection. For other people, it's like, I want to see how you do it. Can I watch you work, right? Like literally, can I have a backstage pass to how you make this happen? For some folks, it's like an informational interview, right? They just really want to understand, like, how does this really work? How did you get there? What's it really like? So for each person, setting the thermostat and just taking readings on, are you getting what you need and how can we adjust, is really my approach. And again, this is just, to me, it is the truth that none of us are the same. And so if I were to tell you, like, here's the formula for it's going to work for everybody, I would know I would not be right.
Well, it's just like with your organization. I mean, it's not a one size fits all. Not everybody that walks through those doors gets the same training or the same wardrobe or the same education or the same conversation. It's unique to each individual that comes through those doors.
Totally. That's the magic.
Absolutely. Somebody's going into a CEO role for the first time, or maybe they've taken over a nonprofit from a legend like Jerry, or they've taken over their family business from mom or dad. What would you tell them is the most important thing they could do? And maybe there's a book called The First 90 Days. I read it 15 years ago when I went into, I don't know if you knew this or not, that I worked at Cal State Fullerton for 11 years. I ran the Center for Family Business. In fact, Jay Barbuto, who runs the Center for Leadership at Cal State, we started on the same day. And so I worked with Jay for 11 years. I worked with Jay. Somebody gave me the book, The First 90 Days, that I read back in 2011 when I started at Fullerton. What would be your wisdom or advice that you would pass along to someone entering into a CEO role for the first time, especially if they're taking over for someone who just has that reputation of being it?
Yeah. May not be what you're expecting, Ed.
No, I have no expectation. I'm expecting you to give me a unique answer. So yes, it will be.
Know thyself. It is fundamental that you know who you are. Self-awareness in this job particularly is my most necessary asset. I have to know not just who I am, but I have to know my tendencies, my biases, the things I'm excellent at. I'm terrible. Exactly. And Ed, you talked about like, each CEO is going to craft the position for themselves. I think that is true of every person in every role, that none of us is 100% acing, all the things that are demanded of us in our jobs. And this is why, again, the human connectivity of like, how do my strengths complement yours and how can we work together to achieve this mission? I can really flow awesome over here, but as soon as I have to do a repeated task, you're going to have a ton of mistakes for me. So don't give me repeated tasks. Give me the create, engineer, envision, and I will help you develop the system, but then you're going to have to run it because I am the worst operator in terms of do it the same. Yeah. So know yourself, most importantly.
No, that's huge. And I love that. Know who you are, but know what you can, what you're not. I'm a big sports guy, huge sports fan. Baseball is my number one love, and Dodgers are my number one love within baseball. So I use a lot of Dodger and baseball analogies a lot. And, Dave Roberts, manager of the Dodgers, needs to know who he is as a manager and who he's not. And he also needs to know the talent of his players. And I think a CEO needs to really know. When I've been in leadership roles where I think I've done my best, it's because I know what my people's talents are and what they're not. Don't put the guy who can't hit a curveball up against the guy who throws the best curveball in baseball. I mean,
Exactly.
that's not a great analogy because you might not be able to avoid that. Can you talk about, if I say the word challenges, does any specific challenge throughout your career come up for you? If so, how did you overcome it, or how are you overcoming it if it's still there? And
Uh-huh.
who's in your corner with you?
I love that. Who's in your corner with you? I'm going to go back to like sort of my evaluation of every day. My biggest challenge to overcome earlier in my career was workaholism, perfectionism, like kind of in a bundle of isms for me. My strength is I'm an achiever. Like you give me any challenge, I will figure out how to win, how to get it. That comes at a high price because my achiever never stops.
Yeah,
And so the sort of duality requires for that to keep going that I'm also never satisfied. It's never enough.
there is no
So
there there. You're
it's
always trying to
exactly,
get there.
exactly.
Yeah.
So earlier in my career, I was pretty dysfunctional about it. And I would just work, 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 work. I loved what I was doing. I was not miserable, but working those kinds of hours and not having a life, not taking care of my body, not taking care of my relationships and my whole self, my spiritual, like all the things was a price far too heavy to pay for something that needed to be balanced. And so I learned that I was measuring the days on what I had not accomplished. I would end my day, have my conversation at the dinner table. How was your day? It was a great day, but I didn't get to these 6 things on my list. And I'm probably gonna work a couple more hours tonight to just do a couple of them, right? Like
Yeah.
so that lesson became like the big one, right? Which was what's really important at the end of the day, Bonni Pomush. At the end of the day, and I'm talking the end of my days, end
Yeah.
of day.
Yeah.
We already talked about this. It's going to matter how I showed up with people.
How you made them
So
feel.
exactly. So that means to reverse engineer from that means I am measuring the wrong KPI. What I need to be looking at is how did I show up with people? Because this achiever and this not enough thing is going to just ride till the day.
Yeah.
So let's get real about what matters. And so my advocate, my ally, my sponsor in this is my wife. And the end of the day
Right.
conversation is not, I'm not, if I even just dabble in what got done or what not. No, no,
Right. Yeah.
no.
Mhm.
Right. And then I get to what stood out for me about the people I was with and how I connected and who moved my heart needle and who, I was able to contribute to. And that's the big shift.
That's a big part for me too. I'm being a
Yeah.
sports guy. I measure, sports is measured in one thing, wins and losses. Did you
Right.
win? Did you lose? So every night when I go to bed, it's not every night, but most nights when I go to bed, when I'm laying there and my wife and I have finally said our goodnights and kissed each other goodnight, and I'm now in my mind, and this is how I'm
Yeah.
closing my day, I'll often ask myself, did I win today or did I lose today? And my win is, how did I make people feel? How did I show up for the people around me? Was I
Yeah.
honest? Was I full of integrity? Did I make
Hmm.
people laugh? I love making
Yeah.
people laugh. I love laughing with people, sometimes at people and oftentimes at me. I get that. I'm very self-aware. I know when people are laughing with me and when they're laughing at me, usually. But, did I show up for my kids, my grandkids? We have a bunch of
Hmm.
grandkids now. I mean, I love showing up for them. And so, yeah, it really comes down to that one, did I win or did I lose? And if I lost, maybe I made a decision I'm not proud of, or maybe I
Hmm.
didn't, to your point. Yeah, there was those 9 things I didn't get to, but you know what?
Yeah.
If I spent my day with a loved one today and that's all I really did today, how can I look at that as a loss?
No.
Okay, I
No.
didn't write the performance review I was supposed to write. I didn't get the podcast edited I was supposed to edit. I didn't make the phone calls I was supposed to make. But, the win is I know I was around people that made me feel good
Hmm.
and I feel good as well. How have the hard times in your life made you the CEO you are today?
Well, I think that the hard times have really helped me learn how to be more vulnerable and articulate about it, to not shy away from connecting with people on those challenges. I think, I was talking about this in the positive about we can sniff it out when people aren't being real, but it was really hard for me to get to that place of letting the outer world in to my inner world. And I thought I think that I would be judged for my weakness. And in fact, I really learned from Brene Brown and her research that in
Yeah.
fact that was the route to the destination. And
Yeah.
that once I let my guard down and let people in and let people see that this is really real, that's where the magic is.
Definitely. Nonprofits are going through a pretty rough time right now. Yeah. For those that are listening and didn't get to see that facial response, you can imagine what her response was if you just listened to the last 45 minutes here. How do you, how do you get through that? How do you personally, you as Working
Hmm.
Wardrobes and you as an
Hmm.
industry of nonprofits, how do you, and I'm not going to get political, and that's not the point of the question at all, regardless of the political environment, completely separate from that. It's a tough time. So many nonprofits doing so many of the same things, so many people out there asking the same people for the same amounts of money for different things or the same things. There's competition, you know, every street corner has a burger joint. Every street corner has a nonprofit now. So
Yeah.
talk about that. Talk about that environment.
Yeah.
Just how do you stand out?
It's interesting. I recently learned that we have over 9,000 nonprofits
I
here
read
in
it too.
Orange County,
Mhm.
California. I think that your inclination is correct, that there is a huge duplication of effort and that we really need a regional advocate to help us figure out how to align, how to work together, maybe how to consolidate some, how to partner
Sure.
differently. And that is really sort of symptomatic, that need is symptomatic of the situation that you're describing, which is all it is that the gas pedal just got pushed real hard, right? We knew a few years back that we needed to really cycle into earned revenue and start really thinking about, we talk about this industry is the for purpose industry, not for profit, right? But
Exactly.
for purpose, nonprofit is our tax status, but for purpose is also a business, and business can't run a deficit year after year and stay in business, right?
Right.
So the sort of key to that sort of sustainability tree is really how do you earn your own revenue? Just like for profit business, what value do you offer in the marketplace and how can people pay you for that value, right? And then that wheel turns. So I think that the nonprofit industry as a whole needs that kind of convening advocacy to help us re-envision and align. There are so many that are surviving that to even think to stop what you're doing for a moment and
Yeah.
focus on infrastructure and changing how you deliver your mission is impossible because they're on the wheel. And so I think that that is probably what we're going to start to see next is the sadly, right, we're going to lose some of the supports we have in our community because they're not set up to be sustainable. But we
Right.
could save them if we were bringing and coalescing the effort. At Working Wardrobes, we are already in a position of earning most of our revenue. So 2/3 of our, financial, gross revenue picture is already earned revenue. The third that was government contracts are fee for service. So it means
Mhm.
we kind of stop that line of business when we don't have that contract.
Yeah.
And what that has meant for us particularly, and this is honestly, this is crushing me right now, is that our veteran population, we have zero dedicated funding to serve our military when in transition,
Yeah.
rebuilding their careers. I'm the wife of a 21-year Army veteran. I'm the daughter of a Vietnam Purple Heart combat wounded. My dad's like a
Sure.
superhero. To know firsthand all these years what their effects of military service continue to require of them, even in their veteran status.
Yeah.
To think for 1 minute that we can't say yes to every single veteran that comes in, and they don't just need, like you were saying before, they don't just need one thing, right? They also need to be understood. And there is a camaraderie, I've got your six, that military have with each other, it doesn't matter what branch, that I will never have with them. And
Yeah.
so we had a whole team of veterans that were only serving veterans, peer support specialists to serve somebody who has served. And it's killing me that that funding is gone now and we don't have that dedicated team. So that's the big challenge that I'm seeing, and I'm talking about that from the Working Wardrobes lens. But I think that that's true for many nonprofits where they had a dedicated service line that was funded, through the government to help solve a particular problem, and Now our community, our local community needs to invest in solving those problems. But the challenge is that our local community doesn't know how bad the problem is.
Yeah.
And like the brevity of the situation, the gravity of the situation is huge. So I think that part of us needs an education to our community at large to understand we've just taken on a responsibility, like it or not, it's here. What
Yeah.
are we going to do about it?
So what would you tell individuals or companies that are looking, sometimes it's, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know where to get.
Totally.
I mean, nonprofits,
Yeah.
20 years ago, I served on the North Orange County YMCA because my job required that I serve in one nonprofit. And someone there came to me and asked. It wasn't on my heart. Not that it wasn't on my heart, but I didn't do it for that reason. I
Yeah.
did it to check a box on my job description. I learned to love it at that point. That's where it started kind of triggering for me.
Hmm.
Talk to the individual now who might be listening who really, I mean, people who are serving get it. They're serving, I heard a pastor say, ask yourself what breaks your heart, get your answer, go serve there.
That's
Okay.
right.
Where can I make
Hmm.
an impact? Go serve there. What
Yep.
leader do I admire? Go serve there. Who's on the board? Go serve with them. Can I make an
Yeah.
impact? Go there. And those
Yeah.
are some of my questions that I ask. I'm on 3
Yeah.
nonprofit boards right now. I've served on 7 or 8 over time. And it's always those questions. But talk to the person who just really
Yeah.
hasn't started. And I'm kind of surprised that there are a lot of companies who aren't doing it as well
Yeah.
as they could. Talk to those individuals and those companies who are looking for where they could or should serve and how.
I think you started in a great place, Ed, which is sharing an expectation, a culture of service is not just inside the walls of our company, but that it requires this community, that we're part of this, fabric that makes up Orange County and that requires all of us doing what we're doing well. So know that, you are interwoven with the community, you are not separate from it. Whether you choose to engage or not, you are a part of it. And we're carrying you if you're not a
Right.
part of it. Secondly, I think that people think that there's like a one size fits all to how you can
Hmm.
be of service. And this is important to figure out what speaks to you. For some people, the most efficient way to be of service is to write a check. Do it.
Right.
For some people, it's look at I am paycheck to paycheck. There is no buffer here, but what I can give you is my time, right? Find what I love that pastors that advice,
What
right?
breaks your
Just
heart?
find what,
Yeah.
yeah, what breaks your heart and go do something about it. We all have something. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. We all have clothes, right? I'm done with this. It doesn't fit me. It's perfectly usable.
Yeah.
Donate the clothes. You'll be happy you did. I assure you. Your closet will be better, but
Exactly.
somebody's
I've done it
life
many
will be better.
times. Yep.
Yeah. Those little toiletry kits, you have all those little extra shampoo bottles and soaps, right?
Yeah.
Your children, even your little ones, can help make little toiletry packets and those working wardrobes. I know many of our homeless shelters and different places can use those to hand a person a kit ready to go. You can have something in your car that's ready to help someone. And maybe it's having some resources that you might say, or please call 211 to find out what you might need. And here's some water and some wipes. I don't know, but
Yeah.
whatever it is, do something. If your company is offering you the opportunity, some companies go as far as, they'll make a donation for the time that you volunteer. Some will
Right.
expect that all of their employees volunteer, one full day of service a year. I would say do it. Let them pay you to go
Yeah.
and help in the
Or go to your
community.
company and insist that they do or encourage them to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're already on payroll deduction for donations, I love that feature
Mhm.
of being employed because it's I don't have to think about it. It's automatic and it's every 2 weeks. So I don't have to, oh God, that hurt.
Right.
It's
It's just, yeah, you learn to live without it. Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's
I
like
think
people who give
that,
to their church. A lot of people will give a 10% tithe to their church. We do. It's just
yeah,
we know that our income is 90% because that 10%
right,
is already,
right.
it's not like we have, it's like, "Oh, we got to give this money." It's just, you just live knowing. Yeah.
Yes, you set yourself up for that. And that investment it's literally, it feels like it's so selfless, but it's kind of also selfish, right? Because
Yeah.
the more we give, the more you give, the more you get.
Totally.
And you also know that the more you give, particularly in community, what does that do? It just raises up the whole community that you're already a
Yeah.
part of.
I learned that as a parent, as a grandparent. We now have, 12 grandkids, 2, 3 in Texas, 4 in Utah, 5 in California. And that first one came along 15 years ago. And I thought, man, I didn't know I could love to this capacity. Well, guess what?
Oh,
11 more have come since. And my love, each time a new one comes, I love the first one more and the second one. And it just, and with kids and with spouse and everything, it's just, we've been given this capacity to love and it's unending. It's not
that's
like,
right.
it's not like I only have this much water and this much bottle, and when I pour it out, it's gone. Somehow when I pour it out, it refills.
Yeah.
And call it God,
Yeah.
which I do, call it whatever you
Yeah.
call it. But for me, God has given us that miracle. Gosh, I have two more pages of questions I haven't even gotten to, but there's a couple that I really want to hone in on. First of
Yeah.
all, is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to make sure that you share? I mean, I'm going to ask a couple more questions still, but when you agreed to do this podcast, obviously we want to promote Working Wardrobes. We want to get our time together, which has been lovely. Is there anything at all about what you're doing now in the community or what Working Wardrobes has coming that you would like people to know about, or anything?
Absolutely. We have expanded recently our services into the city of Brea. So we now have two wardrobe centers, one in Santa Ana, one in Brea to serve people. We have a mobile unit, but we really need an investment to get an electric vehicle to be able to take our services to you wherever you are. So if you know someone who is looking to help a nonprofit, we need a big box truck that's an electric vehicle. Other pieces are really what we've talked about, Ed, and that is you can help in so many ways. If you have skills to share, maybe you are in finance, that you could serve on a committee at Working Wardrobes or another nonprofit to help manage investments, manage budget. If you have skills in fundraising, event planning, help on our gala committee. We have a Valor and Vision event honoring our veterans in
Yeah.
August. Like, there are different opportunities that you can get involved to create the experiences you want to see in community. We mentioned clothing and those donations. I would be remiss if I didn't say please. Tuesdays through Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Stop by Working Wardrobes Donation Center in Irvine off Daimler. We would love your new and gently loved clothing, clean on hangers, and you have accessories, shoes, belts, hats, purses, all of the things, all of the styles. We would so be grateful for your donations.
We'll put all that
And
on the show notes for this and in the YouTube. And when we blast this out on socials, we'll include all those links as well.
thank you. Thank you for your help, Ed.
No, of course. What's the best way for people to contact you personally, to contact Working Wardrobes, to get involved? You mentioned Tuesday through Saturday. You talked about where to go. Somebody's just listening to this and they feel called to this. They feel like, man, this is a love letter to me. I want to get involved in
Oh.
Working Wardrobes. What would you suggest?
Go to our website, workingwardrobes.org. Take a look around and see if there's something that speaks to you particularly. You'll be able to email us and you can get in touch with me there. I'm also on LinkedIn, Bonni with an I, Pomush, Pomush.
Like
those are probably the
in
best
your
ways.
bio, right? Yeah. What do you hope? What is your hope for those that are closest to you?
That they feel loved and full, like full meaningful life, full of meaning, full of contentment.
If I asked your best friend from high school to describe you, what would he or she say?
She would probably start laughing and thinking about all the fun we
She's
had.
doing what now? Yeah. No.
Oh my goodness. I wish I could quote her. She would be telling you, like, I'm glad that you got to meet amazing Bonni. She would probably say really nice things.
Yeah. As you can tell over my shoulder, I've just finished a project on this book called Boomer Wisdom, where we have a compilation of 60 of us for my 60th birthday, which was a couple years ago now. Each answered one question, and the question was, what advice or wisdom would you like to pass along to the next generation? And I asked 59 others, many of whom you know. Sue Parks, Don Reese were a couple of the nonprofit leaders. There's many I'm missing, so I won't start naming a bunch of people. If you could give one piece of wisdom to the next generation, what would that wisdom be? What would you hope that they would know or learn?
I think it's a Shakespeare quote, and it's above all else, be true to thyself.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I think, we walk around with a lot of imposter syndrome and self-doubt and trying to be things that we're not. And I'm quirky too. I'm different, right? Like I'm really
No.
right. So I just think it's that, like, be true to this, discover this, and allow it to flourish. Don't try to be something you're not, or to squash what is there, or to, mimic something else. Let it shine.
Yeah. Okay, I'm now going to put a number. I have 2 questions left. So I do that for my listeners too. So you know that you're starting to hear the wrap up music here in a minute, that there's 2 questions left. First question is, when the time comes and you grab this baton again, but this time you're letting go and giving it to whoever's next, whether you know that person or not, whoever it is, what do you hope Working Wardrobes looks like at that point that it doesn't look like today?
I really envision that we have a mobile fleet and that brick and mortar does not limit our ability to serve, that we're able to be more in more places for more people.
Awesome. Well, keep doing what you're doing because you're getting there. You're there a lot further along than I think you are. But well,
Thanks
anything
for the
that we
vote of
can do,
confidence.
and we will wrap this podcast up in a bow, and we'll send out sound bites, and we'll send the link to you, and you can use it any way you like, and we're going to promote the heck out of it and out of you as well.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Thoroughly enjoyed this time, like I knew I would. Been looking forward to this and laughing with you and just diving into things that really matter the most. That's what I really love about these conversations, and in particular this time with you today. My
Thank
podcast
you.
is called From the Heart because my last name is Hart.
Right.
7 years ago, when we created this show, we wanted to have, most of the good podcasts out there have sort of a tagline. What's the final question? My final question, and it's I like it because it's always been the question now, 157 episodes in. So I've always asked it and I'll continue to ask it. I'm simply going to just say, Bonni Pomush, what's in your heart?
Ed, exchanging heartful thoughts with an open heart and an open mind is the key, I think, to human connection. Thank you for creating a platform and a space to invite that connection and spend that time with me.